everyone would take their seats, we will begin. I want to welcome everyone to the first House Education Committee of this joint interim. No, we're not in the interim anymore. This is the real deal going on. Also, let me remind you that remote members can be considered present and vote on bills if you participate from your annex office. If you are participating remotely but not from your annex office, you can participate in the discussion of a bill, but you will not be counted present and you cannot vote. You will, when you join the committee remotely, your microphone will be automatically muted, so please remember to unmute your microphone if you wish to speak. If you have any questions or comments during the meeting, please indicate that in the meeting chat function, and we'll get to you. With all that, and also please remember to silence your phones in order to avoid interruption. And with that, Mariah, please call the roll.
Representative Baker.
Present remotely.
Representative Banta.
Here in person.
Representative Bojanowski.
Present in the room.
Representative Decker. Representative Donahue. Representative Dossett. Representative Hart.
Present in the room.
Representative Koenig.
Here in the room.
Representative Lewis.
Present in the room.
Representative Massey.
Here in the room.
Representative McCool.
Here.
Representative Miller. Representative Gibbons-Prenti. Representative Rayburn.
Present in the room.
Representative Scott. Representative Timoney.
Here in the room.
Representative Tipton.
Present in the room.
Representative Weber.
Present in the room.
Representative White.
Present remotely.
Representative Wilner.
Here in the room.
Representative Riley. Chair Huff.
Present in the room. We have 3 bills for consideration this morning. First, we have House Bill 44, an act relating to student mental health. If Representative McCool will come to the table. If you have any guests to join you as well. And please introduce yourselves for the record. Remember to turn your mic on at the desk, and then you may proceed.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This Bobby McCool, 97th District. Thank you for this opportunity to be here today. Can you hear me okay? Yes, it is. Get a little closer?
Yes, please.
All right.
Thank you.
Again, Bobby McCool, 97th District. Thank you for this opportunity to be here today. I want to be brief on this bill because we have 3 outstanding scholars that will speak on the bill very thoroughly if that's okay.
Absolutely.
And also with Representative Wilner as well. This bill is a very simple bill in the fact that we just want to bring awareness to mental health and understand how important that is. And also, it doesn't change anything as far as number of days or anything like that, so it can't be over-abused or anything of that nature. So certainly it's just an opportunity for people to start talking about mental health, and hopefully it may lead into something where we can even help more and more people. So I'll leave it at that and then turn it over to Representative Wilner and then to our scholars.
Thank you very much, Representative McCool. Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the committee. This is the best kind of bill. It is simple. It addresses a very important issue, which is student mental health. It's bipartisan, it's urban-rural, and it's student-led. So these students came to Representative McCool and me over the interim with their recommendation for what would be helpful to them as students. And with that, we'll just let them introduce themselves and explain their bill.
My name is Jonathan Butcher.
My name is Cameron Julian.
Members of the Education Committee, Regina Huff, thank you for allowing us to come and speak today. As you may know, the mental health of our student populations has declined dramatically over the course of the COVID-19 pandemic. It is of utmost importance to address this issue.
This bill was created to not only uplift students, but to remove the stigma around mental health in the Commonwealth. Students often feel uncomfortable expressing their mental well-being to parents and school staff. This bill allows students to honestly express to school staff why they are absent and help eliminate the silence around mental health issues.
One of which hasn't been discussed enough is the pandemic's effects on mental health with students and their well-being. Think about it. Students were quarantined away from all other kids their age for many months to a year, and then all of a sudden have to go back to school where they're surrounded by kids their age at hundreds, all at once. Even if you didn't notice at first, they were affected in unforeseen ways. For example, I have always been a very extroverted student. My friends have seen me as the one who will go up, talk to anybody, will introduce anyone to whoever they need to talk to. I'm always a very upbeat person. Then, after the pandemic, it really hit me in ways I didn't expect. I developed social anxiety, and going back to school was really hard for students like me, as well as a couple other of my friends. Going around these big groups of kids, I would get all of a sudden nervous, and my friends would be like, Amira, what is wrong? And they wouldn't know what was going on. They were like, this isn't like you, and I didn't even know how to explain it myself. And that's why this bill is so important, because students get scared. They don't know what's going on, and if school is very much stressful. It's full with many stressors, so not just the workload, but the social pressures around you. And if you have issues going on, being at school does not help, and that's what this bill is for.
Our students need the ability to take a day off here and there to decompress and regroup, and to do so without judgment. According to data from 2019, school problems were identified in 44% of youth suicide cases. This data is pre-COVID. When the Kentucky Injury Prevention and Research Center releases updated post-COVID figures, this number could be well above the 44% mark. That is why it is important for us to trust students and allow them to take their own mental health seriously. In addition to allowing students to take a much-needed break, the bill would also work to show students that our state and our education system takes their mental health seriously.
Along with improving mental health, this bill could also eliminate the stigma and silence around mental health issues. Sadly, the silence of not talking about mental health perpetuates an unhealthy stigma, which can make mental health problems worse or stop a person from getting the help they need. This bill would tell students and adults that it is okay to talk about mental health issues, that their mental health is just as important as their physical health. Just like physical health, every student has mental health. It is true that not all students have diagnosed mental illness, but even those without diagnosed issues sometimes have days where their mental health is just not right. This bill would allow students to manage their mental health instead of pushing them to the breaking point.
We are not the first state to propose a bill that supports schools to have excused absences for mental health. There are at least 13 other states that have passed laws or expanded on previous laws allowing excused absences for mental health reasons. For example, Utah passed House Bill 81 that adds mental health or behavioral health as a valid excuse for a school absence. They also passed House Bill 234 that amends the definition of a valid excuse in the Compulsory Education Code. It amends the definition to specify that valid excuse means a physical or mental illness. This is something that needs to be recognized all over the country.
We need a legislator and education system that takes our mental health seriously. We have a moral obligation to support and uplift students within the Commonwealth. We need to protect the increasing number of students who suffer from mental health disorders. We have a way of doing this, passing this bill. Many fear this is just the beginning. If we do not take an action now, it may be too late.
Thank you, and thank you, Madam Chair, for this opportunity. We certainly would be happy to entertain any questions that you have at this time. This is, like we said, is a very important bill. Simple, but very important. And again, I'd like to ask for your support.
Thank you, and thank you, students, for presenting so eloquently and speaking out. I think any bill that we have or anything that we can do to encourage conversations and raise awareness of the mental health of students, we need to be supportive of. We do have one question. Representative Scott, I think she's remotely.
Yes, thank you, Chairwoman. I too echo a thank you to the students for speaking to us this morning, and to Representative McCool and Representative Wilner for bringing this legislation forward. My question to the two co-sponsors is for the attendance policy. We know that emotional and mental behavioral health issues are extremely important. Will there need to be any kind of documentation that students provide that show that they may be under the care of a mental health specialist? I'm just curious to know what would be the parameters for students and guardians or adults, parents seeking that excused absence.
Thank you, Representative Scott, for that question. It doesn't change anything. You certainly still can have those documentations from a doctor. That will not change that process at all. Does not change any current process.
Thank you.
Seeing no further. Oh, Representative Massey.
I just have a brief comment. A wise judge once told me there's two types of people in the world: those getting mental health treatment and those who need it. That probably applies to all of us in the legislature too. Maybe we could extend this for excused absences from the chamber from time to time. So thank you for presenting.
We have a motion by Representative Tipton, a second by Representative Dossett. Mariah, please call the roll.
Representative Baker? Representative Banta?
Yes.
Representative Bojanowski?
Yes, and may I explain my vote?
Yes.
Thank you. I can think of nothing more important than to give our young people the ability to advocate for themselves and their own mental health, and not to have any artificial pressures about what is or isn't an acceptable reason to take a day off school. So I commend you. I look forward to seeing what else you bring to us here in the General Assembly, and I thank you for taking the time to make this happen.
Representative Decker?
Yes.
Representative Donahue? Representative Dossett?
Yes.
Representative Hart?
Yes.
Representative Koenig? Yes. Representative Lewis?
Yes.
Representative Massey?
Yes.
Representative McCool? Yes. Representative Miller? Representative Gibbons-Prunty?
Yes.
Representative Rayburn?
Yes.
Representative Riley? Representative Scott?
Yes.
Representative Timoney?
Resoundingly yes. Thank you.
Representative Tipton?
Yes.
Representative Weber?
Yes.
Representative White? Representative Wilner?
Yes.
Chair Huff?
Yes. House Bill 44 passes with the expression of the opinion that the same should pass. Congratulations and thank you.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda, we have House Bill 126, an act relating to high school graduation requirements. I am going to remain as the chair since co-chair Riley is not here, and I don't want to get up. No.
You don't want to sit by me is what it is.
No, I don't want to sit by me. But I have with me a guest to speak on this measure, so if you would introduce yourself for the record, and then you can proceed.
Yes, ma'am. Good morning, members of the Education Committee. Thank you, Chair Huff, for letting us speak today. My name is John Hughes. I'm with the Kentucky Chamber of Commerce. House Bill 126 is a legislative priority for our organization. In the fall of last year, we published a piece outlining the workforce crisis that has been impacting our state. As of June 2021, Kentucky had the third lowest workforce participation rate in the nation, just slightly ahead of West Virginia and Mississippi, the two lowest. Encouraging higher completion rates and making Kentucky the top state in the nation for FAFSA completion is a meaningful policy goal that can help alleviate Kentucky's workforce challenges. One of the key findings from our report was the need for increasing post-secondary attainment in Kentucky, including not just four-year degrees, but two-year degrees, credentials, and other forms of post-secondary training as well. Education and training beyond the high school degree is critical to building a competitive workforce and meeting the demands of the modern economy. Completing FAFSA can help make students and families aware of all their options to make post-secondary attainment affordable. Louisiana, which in the 2017 to 2018 school year became the first state to require high school seniors to file a FAFSA before graduation. In the inaugural year of FAFSA First, the percentage of students filing grew from 51% to 77%. I want to make a note, there is an opt-out provision included in this bill. If there is a child who cannot complete this requirement, an opt-out waiver is available. Analysis has shown that Kentucky students and families miss out on more than $30 million in the Pell Grants each year because of not completing the FAFSA. Members of the committee, thank you for having me today. We urge you to support this piece of legislation.
Thank you. And I want to also share that we are statutorily required to provide college education for students in the Commonwealth. And if we do the FAFSA first, then we can capture those federal dollars, and we can take up the rest of the bill. So I think this is another reason that we should pass this. And also, we have there's several states that are ahead of us now, so we're all competing for those federal dollars. And I just think it's a good opportunity for those just to be aware of FAFSA and to get families and communities. And this will become a practice for families once we get this started. So I hope that you will support this bill, and we will answer any questions you may have. Representative Bojanowski?
Yes, may I speak on the bill?
Yes, you may.
Okay, so from my first semester in college in 1982, when the tuition was somewhere around $600 a semester, to finishing my PhD in 2017, every step along the way, I've been able to make those strides in improving my education level because of federal support that comes through the FAFSA. My son, Brandon, was able to do community college because of being a single parent, and his FAFSA numbers without ever having to pay $1 out of pocket. So the FAFSA is incredibly important to gain access to those funds. In the past, I've struggled a bit with this bill because of it being mandatory. And like I said, I've filled out a lot of FAFSAs, but that's the point. I've filled out a lot of FAFSAs. Every single child that went through college courses, I prepared their FAFSA. So I'm going to shift a little bit, and part of that, I think, is because of how few, just the lower number of children who are doing FAFSAs. And then the other thought of there may be students who might succeed in postgraduate studies of any kind that might not be on the counselor's radar to push them through. And maybe this will push through some of those kids who will then have access to the same opportunities that I was given. So I'll be a yes vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Representative Tipton?
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you for bringing this legislation today. 60 by 30. That's a goal that we have here in the Commonwealth of Kentucky, that 60% of our adults will have some sort of post-secondary credential or degree by the year 2030. We all understand that our world is changing, our workforce is changing, and it needs individuals who have the skills and training necessary for the jobs of the future. And that's why this is vitally important. I'm old enough that I'm out of the fast food business now, but I have been through that with my 3 children. Good news, the federal government is on target to change the form to make it less complicated so it's not quite as intimidating to students and parents who are filling this out. So I think this is a great opportunity. And I also believe that there are a lot of people in our state who really don't know what's out there. They don't know what opportunities are out there. And we're blessed with so many opportunities available. Of course, most people know about the KEYS program, where you earn money while you're in school. Based on your grades, you can increase that with ACT scores. But if you fill out the FAFSA and you are Pell eligible to get a Pell Grant, you are automatically eligible to get a CAP or KTG grant in the state of Kentucky. Our CAP grants, College Access Program for our public universities. The KTG is the Kentucky Tuition Grant for our private universities. And we've been able to, as lottery dollars have come in, we've been able to increase those awards. So this is just a great opportunity. I think it will open the door for more students to take advantage of those dollars that are out there so we can obtain that goal of 60 by 30, but more importantly, we can have more productive citizens in the future. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Seeing no further questions, do we have a motion on the bill? We have a motion by Representative Dossett, a second by who was that? Representative Massey. Mariah, please call the roll.
Representative Baker? Representative Banta?
Yes.
Representative Bojanowski?
Yes.
Representative Decker?
Yes.
Representative Donahue? Representative Dossett?
Yes.
Representative Hart?
Yes.
Representative Koenig? Yes. Representative Lewis?
Yes.
Representative Massey? Yes. Representative McCool? Yes. Representative Miller? Representative Gibbons-Prunty?
Yes.
Representative Rayburn?
Yes.
Representative Riley? Representative Scott?
No.
Representative Timoney?
Explain my vote, Chair Huff.
Yes.
I'm a yes on this. There were some things that I do have some concerns about, but I think this is a critical first step. I believe that addition of adding the opt-out piece for students that are going to be going into the military, where the FAFSA wouldn't necessarily apply, I think that's important. The FAFSA is a very, very complicated form. I just want to be clear. I don't want our superintendents putting this on teachers for them to have to complete, because obviously we are including a form that is for the family and we're making it a high school requirement. So we've got two different worlds there. We want to make sure that this is not put on the teachers or on the schools or specifically the teachers, because they're overworked at this point. But I'm a yes on this. I think this is a great first step, and I think we're going to motivate those groups of people that kind of need that extra shove to fill this out. So great job.
Representative Tipton?
Yes.
Representative Weber?
Yes.
Representative White? Representative Wilner?
May I explain my vote?
Yes.
Thank you. I very much support students completing the FAFSA and that being part of the curriculum. I think it's incredibly important, but I'm very nervous about the graduation requirement. And it concerns me that it may be a barrier to graduation for some of our most vulnerable and disconnected students. And so I reluctantly vote no, because I think the idea behind this is excellent, but somehow the graduation requirement is just too high a bar for me, so I'm a no today.
Chair Huff?
Yes. House Bill 126 passes with the expression that the same should pass. Thank you very much for joining us today, Mr. Hughes. Congratulations. Our last bill of the morning is House Bill 194. Representative Johnson, if you would come to the table, please, and if you have any guests with you, please join him at the table. You may introduce yourself and proceed. Microphone, please.
I will start again. Thank you for Chairwoman Huff for having me this morning. My name is DJ Johnson, 13th District State Representative. Owensboro, Davis County area. I am joined today by Ms. Rhonda Caldwell, Executive Director for the Kentucky Association of School Administrators in person. Thank you for coming this morning. And online, I have with us today Jeremy Cameron, who is the principal of the Davis County Day Treatment Center. And I believe I've seen him online, so hopefully he's still there if technology is working. Again, thank you for the opportunity to come for you this morning. And I'm here today to discuss House Bill 194. And House Bill 194 addresses a situation concerning GED opportunities for students attending alternative schools. By adopting House Bill 194, the General Assembly will provide educators an additional tool that will contribute to student success. If I may briefly provide a little bit of background information, as of yesterday, there are 24,424 students enrolled in alternative programs in Kentucky, representing about 3% of our student population statewide. The vast majority of these students are making suitable academic progress, but for that small number who are not, other options are needed. House Bill 194 provides an additional opportunity to that limited pool of students who may see themselves as being at a dead end. Students in alternative programs who are at least 17 years old and who have insufficient high school credits to graduate within a reasonable time period often resign themselves to failure and simply become another dropout statistic. Basically, they look at their situation and say, why bother? But by allowing these students to obtain a GED, they can be turned from dropouts into students who can continue on with post-secondary education. They can learn a trade, get a good paying job, which we've been discussing this morning already, or perhaps maybe join the military. As recently as 2012, Kentucky had a secondary GED pathway available to all high school students who were significantly below grade level. But with the advent of an emphasis on high school graduation rates and raising the dropout age to 18, that path was discontinued. Later, in 2017, the previous chair of this committee, the late Representative Baum Carney, wisely saw the value of the GED as an opportunity for state agency children, many of whom had endured trauma, poverty, or abuse. He sponsored a bill to offer these students the option of a GED. That bill was passed and became KRS 158.143. With HB 194, we are asking you to amend that statute to expand the availability of a GED pathway to a small number of students who are not state agency children, but may have also experienced trauma, abuse, poverty, or just a lack of success in the traditional high school program. House Bill 194 gives these students hope for a successful future where they may have believed there was none. Thank you for considering this legislation, and I urge you to give it support. And I'll be glad to answer any questions you might have. Actually, I would be glad to turn over any questions to the other people with me today.
We have, we don't have any questions for you, so you must have, Bojanowski. Representative Bojanowski, please ask your question.
Okay, so just to clarify, so these students, would they have actually obtained a GED in this process, or is this just getting them ready to do the GED program?
It's getting them started, getting them ready to do that. Part of the process, or part of the qualifications are that they are at least 17 years old in an alternative school, and clearly not going to be able to achieve a high school diploma anytime soon. So we want to get them started in the process as soon as possible so that they don't get to that point where they think they have no shot and then they give up.
Okay. One follow-up, if I may?
Yes.
Okay. So would this have any impact let me just start that one again. Would these students have an impact on school or district accountability scores?
I don't know if I can. I don't know if that's specific enough for me to try to answer. I will try to answer it, and if you want to jump in, I think I'll pass this one off.
I actually see Jeremy here.
There you go.
Actually, Jeremy Cameron from the Davies County School Systems is here with us online, and I think he would welcome that question. So, Jeremy?
Thank you, committee. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. Well, thanks for having me. It's interesting. This whole morning of bills kind of falls into one group that ultimately is about hope. To follow up on the response from Representative Johnson, this will allow students the opportunity to take the GED while enrolled in an alternative high school. As of right now, only kids that are state agency kids can take it. And you have a place like the Academy right there in Frankfort where you have kids sitting next to each other. One's eligible and one is not eligible. And yet there's part of the same program. So yes, this would allow them to take the GED as a high schooler, because we're talking about a very, very narrow band of kids that are very much off track to graduate. So this would pretty much be their only hope to finish. And to answer your question, ma'am, the research that we have done with KDE is that it will not impact the accountability specifically to the cohort graduation rate. Unfortunately, that is a separate thing that is tabulated at a federal level, but it will impact the dropout rate on the superintendent's report, as long as the kids have obtained their GED by October 1st of the year that it's due.
So grateful for subject matter experts.
Thank you. We have a motion on the bill by Representative Koenig, a second by Representative Timney. See no further questions. Mariah, please call the roll.
Representative Baker? Representative Banta?
Yes.
Representative Bojanowski?
Yes.
Representative Decker?
Yes.
Representative Donahue? Representative Dossett?
Yes.
Representative Hart?
Yes.
Representative Koenig? Yes. Representative Lewis?
Yes.
Representative Massey?
Yes.
Representative McCool?
Yes.
Representative Miller? Representative Gibbons-Prunty?
Yes.
Representative Rayburn?
Yes.
Representative Riley? Representative Scott?
Yes.
Representative Timoney?
Yes.
Representative Tipton?
Yes.
Representative Weber?
Yes.
Representative White? Yes. Representative Wilner?
Yes.
Chair Huff?
Yes. House Bill 194 passes with the expression of the opinion that the same should pass. Thank you very much for bringing this forward.
Thank you.
Does anyone have any parting remarks? I want to remind you that next week we have a holiday, so look for us to reschedule the Education Committee, but you will be notified in plenty of time to schedule your activities. If we have no further questions, have a motion for adjournment?
Motion.
Have a motion and second? We're adjourned. Don't talk to me. You're dead. Oh, yeah, sorry. You're back. You're back. Yes, you're back alive and you're well.
You have been healed.